Okay, grade 8. Welcome to math class. I'm sure that you are paying attention and you're listening quietly and you're going to actively listen as we go through chapter 2.3. Chapter 2.3 is on proportional reasoning. Proportional, Proportional reasoning, reasoning. So proportional reasoning, and yes, I know my handwriting is messy, but that's what it says. Proportional reasoning. So what is proportional reasoning that's different than chapter 2.1 and 2.2? Well, in 2.1, we studied about ratios, and we looked at things like comparing apples to oranges or stars to moons or boy students to girl students. Those were ratios. In 2.2, we looked at rates. For example, the Orca could travel 110 kilometers in 2 hours. That was a rate of speed. And a unit rate of speed would have been 55 kilometers per hour, or we would write it 55 kilometers per hour. So this is a rate, and this would be a unit rate, where the second term was 1. In 2.3, on proportional reasoning, we'll just call it PR, proportional reasoning, we look to take something like, well, let's give an example. Uh, what if I was to say for it was $8.40 for 3 mechanical pencils. Okay, for 3 pencils. How much would it be for 4 pencils? Now, if this was a question from 2.2, you probably would have done it this way. So one way we could solve this is, of course, to take my $8.40 over 3, to find out the cost of 1, and then to find out the cost of 4. And what we would do here is we divide by 3, divide by 3. I take my calculator, and I take $8.40 divided by 3. Would tell me that it's $2.80 per pencil. I would then multiply that by 4 and multiply that by 4. And I take my 280 and multiply it by 4. And it would tell me it's $11.20 for the 4 pencils. Okay, so the new method that we're going to learn is the most mind-blowing method for ratio and rates you're ever going to see, and it's going to be what you do to default for a lot of different things. So it's called the cross multiplication slash multiplication. No, there's no T in there. Ignore that line right there. That line. Multiplication slash algebraic method. That's a lot of letters and a lot of words. But cross multiplication slash algebraic method is so easy, and so once you get good at it, it's so good. So it's $8.40 for 3 pencils. And we don't say equals anymore. We said instead of that, we're going to say is proportional to, T-I-O-N, proportional to, instead of equal. So $8.40 for 3 pencils is proportional to X for 4 pencils. Okay? So what does this mean? What are we going to do? How are we going to solve this without breaking it into a unit rate? Well, the cross multiplication algebraic method is exactly what it means. That empty space there, the I don't know how much money it is space up here, is actually not empty. It has a X because it's just going to be an unknown value. And what you do is you multiply across your proportion sign to that X to get one side of your algebraic equation. So in this case, we have 3 and we have X. So we're going to multiply those two together to get 3X. And then we're going to put our equal sign. And then we're going to multiply the other way to get the other side of that equal sign. And $8.40 multiplied by 4 is $33.60. So now we have this weird looking algebraic equation that's actually just from grade 7. It's a one-step algebraic equation. We know that to isolate the variable now I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And I'm going to get X equals $11.20, which is the exact answer I got here, right? Without having to do a unit rate. So I basically got the same answer without needing to calculate the unit rate. I was able to use this proportional reasoning. So if we look at that, it seems weird, but it works. And you're like, Mr. McDonald, I don't understand. That was so quick and so fast, I don't get it. Well, let's look at another one. Let's pretend a bicyclist can go 12 kilometers per hour, 12 kilometers in, actually, we won't say that. We'll say 112 kilometers. Now, we'll make it easier, something that's divisible. Let's just do it 121 kilometers. 121 kilometers in 4 hours. How far could he go in 5 hours? Okay. So again, what I would probably always normally do is say, well, if he goes 121 kilometers in 4 hours, I'm going to find out how far he went in 1 hour, and then I'm going to find out how he went in 5 hours. But we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to say, okay, I set up my proportion. I have 121 to 4 is equal to x over 5, and I'm going to multiply this way, okay? So when you multiply that way, what are you going to get? You're going to get 4 times x, or 4x. And then you're going to put your equal sign, and then you're going to multiply the other way to get the other side of your algebraic equation. And 5 times 120 is 605. 605. So 5 times 121, I think it is. I better double check. Yep. 121 times 5 is 605. Oh, good, good. My brain still works. Okay, so from this proportion, I was able to create this one-step algebraic equation that if I isolate for x, if I solve for x, I'm going to know how many kilometers he went in 5 hours. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Divide by 4, and it goes x equals whatever 605 divided by 4 is. So I go 605 divided by 4 is 151.25. 151.25. Okay? Which is then going to be the value of x, because x is that. So if he goes 121 kilometers in 4 hours, he would go 151.25 kilometers in 5 hours. So therefore, he would go that far. Now, if you don't believe me, let's just double check by unit rate. Let's just go ahead and do that question one more time. But this time, we're going to solve it like we would if we were doing a 2.1. So 121 in 4 is equal to how many kilometers in 1 hour, which would be equal to how many in 5 hours? Right? 1 hour and 5 hours. Okay, I get it. Hour should be just singular. All right, so I'm going to divide by 4 and divide by 4. And that's going to be 30.25 kilometers in 1 hour, because 121 divided by 4 is 30.25. Then I'm going to multiply that by 5. I'm going to multiply that by 5 to keep it equal. I'm going to go 30.25 multiplied by 5 is 151.25. The same answer we got using a completely different method. Okay? Awesome, isn't it? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Before we get you loose on the other stuff, I'm going to give you 4 questions. Your substitute's going to press the pause button, and you're going to try these 4, and then you're going to press the unpause button, and you're going to see if you're right. So we'll say we'll go 120 students for every, we'll go 5 teachers. It's proportional to how many students for, let's go with 8 teachers. Okay, 8 teachers. So how many students for 8 teachers? Second question, we'll go $240 for 5 shirts is proportional to how much money for 12 shirts? We'll go 40 kilometers in 0.5 hours, or 30 minutes, is proportional to how many kilometers in 1.25 hours, or 1 hour and 15 minutes. So if you wanted to, I could tell you what it could have been. It could have been 30 minutes here, and it could have been 1 hour and 15 minutes, because 0.25, or a quarter of an hour, is a quarter of 60, since half of 60 is 30, then a quarter. So 0.25 hours is actually 15 minutes. But you don't really need that, so I'll erase that. That's just FYI. And the last one will go, I'll just do a straight up number one. It doesn't even have meaning. 244 over 8 is proportional to x over 5. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so press pause, try these out. Just use the algebraic method for them. Just use the algebraic method. See if you can solve them with just the algebraic method. Okay? Okay, you're back, I think. Now, if you did the algebraic method correctly, the first thing you did is you multiplied across to the variable and you got 5x. Then you multiplied the other way and got 8 times that is 960. And you divided both sides by 5. And you got x equals whatever 960 divided by 5 is. 960 divided by 5 is 192. So technically you're supposed to put a therefore symbol and say therefore 192 students can go with 8 teachers if 120 students for every 5 teachers and 192 students can be present for 8 teachers, or so on and so forth, whatever the context is. And the second question again, we have the 5x again, equals, and multiply 12 by 24. In the old days I could do that in my head. So 12 multiplied by 240 is going to be 2,880. To isolate, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And I get x equals whatever that is, divided by 5. It's 576. So, if 5 shirts cost you $240, then 12 shirts will cost you $576 if they're proportional. Next question, we're going to multiply here and get 0.5x. Now remember, that's half of x, which also could be written like this if you wanted to. Half of x equals whatever 40 multiplied by, hang on, let's see, 40 multiplied by 1.25 equals 50. Then I'm going to go 50 divided by $50 divided into piles of 50 cents. Or if I have $50 divided into piles of 50 cents, I can make 100 piles. So x would equal 100. So therefore, if you can go 40 kilometers in half an hour, you will be able to go 100 kilometers in 1.25 hours, or 1 hour and 15 minutes. And the last one using this algebraic method, I'm going to get 8x equals 1,220, which is what 244 times 5 is. Divide both sides by 8 to isolate the variable, so 1220, divided by that coefficient of 8 will equal 152.5, so x equals 152.5. And since there's no context, it doesn't mean anything. Okay. Now, just to make sure this works, I'm going to take one last thing. I'm going to take my green marker, and I'm going to show you 120 over 5. I'm going to break it down into a unit rate first, and then into that proportion of 8 teachers. So if I divide both by 5, I would get 24. So every teacher can have 24 students, and if I multiply that by 8, 24 times 8 should be 192, right? So 24 times that 8 will equal 192. So if I multiply both by 8, I get my 192. And again, you can break each of those down into unit rates, and you'll see that the algebraic method gave you the same answer regardless. So try that algebraic method for these questions. I want you to work on all of them together. You only have one class. There is no homework as long as you guys aren't jerks for your substitute and you're nice people. If Mr. Grady tells me you weren't very good to him, obviously those people will die when I get back on Thursday, so please be good for the substitute. Okay, good luck.